there is an epidemic for men. You might have seen men getting bashed. It's like men are weaker, men are soft. Well, there is a reason. It's because testosterone levels for men have fallen between 30 to 50% compared to our grandfathers. Since the 1980s, testosterone levels have been falling 1 to 2% every year for men. And testosterone is the male hormone. Testosterone gives us drive, energy, focus, clarity. It helps us build muscle easier. It helps us burn fat easier. It gives us sex drives, libido. And men are suffering.
Welcome back to the Power and Purpose podcast. I'm Vanessa, your host. I'm super excited for today's conversation. I'm here with Vasco Karamanov. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Vanessa. I'm excited for the conversations that we're going to have.
Yes, absolutely. I love your work, and I think people will, they may not love it as much as I do, but it's been something on my mind. And so hopefully you guys have time to follow us throughout this conversation today. And before we dive into like what you do and like what your message is and your work and your incredible work that you do, I love to ask my signature question to everyone. It's who are you and who are you not?
I'm a spiritual being experiencing this physical life as a human being, and I love mankind, and I want the best for mankind, and I am someone that is on a mission to focus on creating empowerment and purpose and power and alignment in masculinity, because I feel like that's where my biggest ripple effect is right now, and my purpose is men's work and masculinity. So I am here to talk about it.
Amazing. So, what does alignment and masculinity mean to you?
For me, alignment and masculinity, it is what I focus on high performance. So you might hear the word high performance a lot. And for a lot of people, what it really means is just being successful in business and in finances. But to me, a high performance man is not only have you focused on your finances, but also on optimizing your health, your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, and your relationships. And when you have optimized all those categories, I feel like that is a high performance man. And how can you? A lot of the focus is on what I'm hearing on your podcast, Vanessa, and the incredible work that you're doing with your guests, having deep conversations on personal growth and development, on healing. That is a big part of it. A big part of it is inner work, healing, understanding yourself, forgiveness, getting to a point where you have so much awareness of who you are and how the world works that you can lead from an open heart as opposed to greed, right? Because we know we can feel it when there is a man that is very successful, that is power hungry and leading from greed. But then there is men who can lead from the heart and still be very successful financially. I feel like those are the men that are aligned.
Wow, I have so many questions already, but I'll take it slow because I know we're just getting warmed up. So that was powerful. Thank you for that. I love your concept of aligned masculinity. I would say like in the last 10 years, there's been so much, I don't know if it's bashing, but there's just been like a lot of talk around the toxic masculinity, but there wasn't like an equal amount of discussion or conversation around the aligned masculinity. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I am here to represent men. Men have been beat down, beat down by this is toxic and this is toxic, and I understand it. It is because the world has been awakening. This is the greatest time I believe to ever live in 2025. It's a golden era. And at the same time, there's many things that are stealing our attention. But something that's happening is a lot of systems are being reformed in the world. There are certain systems that have ran a certain way, and things are changing. People are no longer standing for how it is. And so part of that is toxic masculinity. Men that didn't have opportunities to focus on personal growth and development and healing and working with coaches and working with therapists. They didn't have that. They didn't know that. They just knew go, 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 go. And then they mirrored and acted patterns from their fathers and their grandfathers who were in the same place. And so part of that is toxic, and a big part of it is survival, and a big part of it is just knowing and doing what you've seen all of your life. But we are not in that time anymore. We have information at our fingertips. We have podcasts like this, books, seminars, and many different ways where we can have the opportunity to work on who we are so that we can really make the biggest difference and lead like we are meant to lead.
So powerful and well said, by the way, like really addressing that, yes, like toxic masculinity is a thing, but it's not where we're stuck, and we don't have to like hyper focus on it. We have so much information, there's so much support. I think people are really appreciating the power of community and support a lot more now than maybe they were in past years, and so that also helps with healing, that also helps with integration.
Yeah, you said a big one, community. And something on my vision board is without community, there is no liberation. So that's something massive for me for this year. And I took it upon myself to create my own community, Maverick Men. It's a men's group here in Austin. And also in a lot of the blue zones on in the planet, right, where people live to be centennials, the longest living people on the planet, they found, yes, they have a certain way of they're either eating organic food or they're eating whole foods. Their stress levels are down. They're moving a lot. But the biggest thing that really stood out, community. They have a very, very supportive community. People that will take care of them if they get in trouble, right? So community is massive. Brotherhood is massive. Sisterhood is massive when it comes to our health and our purpose and our happiness.
So I'm so curious to know, how did you get into this work? Were you doing something different, a corporate world, normal life, quote unquote, or did you kind of already have like an idea that you were always headed in this direction?
I always knew that I was a black sheep, an old soul. So I've worked jobs that serve people. I worked as a lifeguard. I worked as a personal trainer. And then I got to the point where I started working for myself as a personal trainer when I was in my 20s, in my late 20s. And I realized that a lot of people who got great results, there was this level of motivation and there was this fire within that kept them to focus on discipline, on consistency, and they got good results. And there was other people that fell off. So that was very intriguing to me. And then what really set me off on this path was I went through the toughest time of my life when I was in my basically like late 20s, where I experienced chronic back pain from herniated discs from a combination of a car accident and then powerlifting for a long time. So chronic pain all of a sudden, and I'm a personal trainer, and I get to a point where I'm a personal trainer, but I can't even work out. So that was a massive identity shift. And at the same time, I was going through a breakup, the toughest breakup of my life with a girl that I really, really loved, and it didn't work out. So it put me in a place for the first time in my life where I was mentally in pain, emotionally in pain, and chronic physical pain, which ended up putting me in a depression. And I realized I was in a depression because I caught myself having suicidal thoughts. And when it really became aware of suicide, I'm having suicidal thoughts. Like, what do you think the next step is? So I have to majorly change what I'm doing with my life right now. And what that looked like for me was making 100% decision to go all in on personal growth and development, on forgiveness, on healing. And the first thing I did was sign up to become a certified meditation and mindfulness teacher. And that ended up
Beautiful.
really, really making a big difference in my mental health, understanding how to meditate, understanding how to calm my mind, how to rewire my mind. And within that, I started challenging myself and facing fears like public speaking, going to Toastmasters, going all over the United States to different seminars, studying from different coaches, hiring different coaches, traveling the world. I've been to 30 countries, and within all of that, I got to a point where I really got to see how powerful the mind is, how incredible the mind is. And I decided to reinvent myself from personal trainer to coach and get certified in NLP, hypnotherapy, success coaching. And at that training, that I signed up for, that's where I met my future wife, Lexi. She was doing the same thing. She was reinventing herself. And I got to a point, Vanessa, where I was able to heal my chronic back pain. I was with it for 4 years. It was very hard. I didn't have surgery. I healed it on its own. And I also healed a lot of limiting beliefs, like the belief was like, am I ever gonna find love again? Right? So that put me in spots where I kept dating the wrong people and yo-yoing, right? And I got to a point where I was able to really figure out how to become an expert in creating subconscious alignment so that the subconscious and conscious can go hand in hand where I'm eliminating unresolved emotions, limiting beliefs, and also conflictions in the mind. So now I'm on this path. I did this for 5 years working as a coach with men and with women, and I felt that it was time to niche down and focus even more specifically on who I'm working with. And life gave me hints, and that hint was that I had people coming up to me telling me two things. One was, you look a lot younger than you are. I'm 38 right now. People usually think I'm in my early 30s or even my 20s sometimes. So I was like, okay, there's something to that. That represents health. I need to focus on health. And then the other one was a lot of women were giving me compliments on my emotional intelligence and just how I handle myself. And to me, that was a result of a lot of the inner work that I've done. And so I was like, all right, well, this is very valuable. Like so many women right now are looking for men with emotional intelligence. And so let me focus on that. And then it was, aha, I should be focused on working with men. And that since this year, that's what I'm focused on is focusing on men.
What a journey. And it's led you to this place. You found your true love, your soulmate through this process. I love that. And it's just a representation of what can happen when we're coming into alignment. And for you, you came into your own aligned masculinity. And so what a great journey and story to share with us. And as we start to talk about some other things, you have a really important message around testosterone. And I'm so curious. I probably don't know enough about it. I'm so curious. And so, are there any challenges with testosterone for men as they're coming into their aligned masculinity, as they're healing, as they're integrating, as they're expanding into the best version of themselves? Are there any challenges?
Yes, such an incredible question. And I feel like this is a very important topic to talk about right now in the world because there is an epidemic for men. You might have seen men getting bashed. There's like men are weaker, men are soft. Well, there is a reason that that is happening, and it's because testosterone levels for men have fallen between 30 to 50% compared to our grandfathers. Since the 1980s, testosterone levels have been falling 1 to 2% every year for men. And testosterone is the male hormone. Testosterone gives us drive, energy, focus, clarity. It helps us build muscle easier. It helps us burn fat easier. It gives us sex drives, libido. And men are suffering. That means the average 25-year-old right now has 50% less testosterone than what is suboptimal. And there are many reasons for it, Vanessa, as we know. Like men and women, we've always been stressed out, right? And it looks like stress is one of the biggest factors when it comes to reducing testosterone. Stress, the hormone is called cortisol. So the higher your stress levels and your cortisol levels, it actually affects testosterone negatively. It brings down testosterone. But men and women have always had stress. So what is really one of the biggest difference makers? Well, right now, here in the world in 2025, especially in the West, there is so much that we have to balance. There is so much on our plate. There is so much to do, to figure out. So that is much more stress on its own. We have to figure out what to do and how to do it and when to do it. And it was much easier for our grandparents to do things like that. They knew what they had to do and they executed. So that's one thing right there. Sleep. Sleep. I know you've had episodes. I've listened to an episode where there was an expert talking about sleep on your podcast and how important sleep is. Sleep is one of the number one factors that can end up you can end up increasing your testosterone or reducing, and it's recommended 7 to 9 minutes. But here's the shocking stuff. The shocking stuff is a lot of stuff that people have no clue about. I didn't even know about this stuff, and I'm a health expert, but now over the last couple of years, and especially over the last year, since I got certified in becoming hormone and testosterone certified for men, there are many things in our environment that just because of our lifestyle are ruining our hormones, such as things that we're putting on our body, lotions, shampoos, conditioners with chemicals. There is food that we're eating that is highly processed and with pesticides that is going into our body, and those things are disrupting our hormones. There's metals in it sometimes, there's plastics in it, and all those things which are not natural for the human body are slowly but surely becoming overloaded in our body and in men. And what happens is they disrupt your natural hormone production. And so no wonder testosterone levels are going down because, yeah, men and women, we've always been stressed out. We've always had to deal with sleep, but this is new. This is a result of evolution, of just how reality is. And it looks like by mankind focusing on quantity over quality, the result is ruining health, both unintentionally and intentionally. We can even go as far as to say it is intentional because there are certain businesses that focus on people depending on medicine. And what I'm seeing right now, which really fires me up, and it is TRT, testosterone replacement therapy. There are men that, of course, we've talked about this, their testosterone levels are low. They're in their 20s, they're in their 30s, they're in their 40s, and they get tested and then they get put on TRT therapy and they have to be on it for life. And what that looks like is you're going in and getting injections so you have higher testosterone. And they're pitching you, it's like you're gonna have more muscle, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. And it's like, yeah, that is the result of increasing your testosterone, but you're gonna be dependent on it for the rest of your life. And if you keep taking it, there are risks. It can grow your prostate, right? And so there are certain things that you have to focus on. And I'm so big on mastering the inner, the power that we have within. So do what you have to do. Go out there, increase your testosterone levels naturally because there's ways. And then if you can't, and if you really have worked with experts and you've tried everything, then yeah, TRT might be the best option for you, but don't go to it if you haven't tried all those other options.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Powerful statement there. And I have so many questions, but that is so eye-opening that just to recap for everyone, you said a 50% drop from how long ago again?
The 80s, the 1980s.
Wow. Wow. That's huge. That's very drastic. And I do understand the environmental. I mean, we could look around. We're not silly, right? We could look around our environment and just yeah, the pesticides, the packaged food, the processed foods, like all of that, even some of the things in our air quality. It's a lot. It's a lot on the body. Um, the main question that comes up for me right now is what is the impact? Like, how is this impacting all of us, men and women, because of this reduction, right? This 50% reduction in testosterone in men since the 80s. How is this impacting the collective?
So when it comes to great question, and then when it comes to the collective and especially men, how it's impacting us is more depression, more overwhelm, stress, anxiety, people with low libido, men that have this idea of what their purpose is, or maybe they even know what their purpose is and they're excited, but now they're having trouble with discipline and consistency because of that brain fog. So it's like now they're starting to think that they're lazy, but they're not really lazy. They're just beat down. And guess what? You get to a certain point where now you're overwhelmed and stressed out. Now those thoughts take over. We know the power of the mind. We start catastrophizing, and now our brain, we rewiring, rewiring our brain to look at a lot of the negatives. And now the cortisol builds up and builds up and builds up and builds up. right? So there's something I call the perfect storm. The perfect storm is something to watch out for, and it is when you have a couple of different massive stresses come to your life. Maybe it's finances, maybe it's a relationship, and maybe it's your health. But we can, for the most part, handle when there's a big stress. But if they compound, now we got the perfect storm. I mean, that's when people can get in trouble. So how is it impacting the collective is it's like men, they have lost some of their power. They've lost their inner fire, their power, their purpose, their energy, their drive because of everything that they are beat down on. And part of it is like even things that they don't know about, like some of the stuff we talked about, the silent testosterone killers. A lot of people don't even know about those, right? So they're just living their life doing the best that they can, but they're just getting exposed to all this stuff that's disrupting their hormones. To me, that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable. We should be at war with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
How is it impacting the women, right? So it's like I see so many women. Women are in their power right now. They're awakening. They're seeing certain patterns. They're seeing that they have the ability to create such massive change, and they're self-actualizing, and they're forming women's circles, and they're entrepreneurs. But what I've seen is there is a lack of men that can match that, especially in Austin, right? There's obviously a lot of men that are doing great, that are in their power, that are in their purpose. But for the most part, men are being beat down. So I want to invite women to support. I want to invite the world to support and be aware and share information like this because men are extremely stressed out and beat up and they have lost their power, but we can gain it back. First, we need the awareness, we need the knowledge, we need the support, we need the community, we need the conversations like this, and that's how it starts.
Absolutely. And to me, the dangerous part is men experiencing, some of the symptoms, the depression, the anxiety, the low motivation, whatever it is. And, like you said, they're doing their best and they actually might miscategorize it. It may not even address the testosterone thing, may not even know to do that. And they might just think of it as only mental health, or maybe they're just like it's just PTSD, like that I had from the military, or like you see what I'm saying, like they might miscategorize it. Not that that stuff is not valid, it's all valid. And typically when we're experiencing something, it's not just one single thing anyway. But I think that this is so important so that we can expand our awareness, and now people know to actually really factor in testosterone levels, and then also, and that will lead them to the solution, right, on how to naturally, and I can't wait to get into that part with you, how to naturally boost that. Before we do, I've heard some rumors, and I'm not going to state them because I don't know if they're true, but what or maybe I might state one rumor, but with the testosterone replacement therapy, I know there's some risk involved, and a friend of mine said that maybe it can make someone infertile, and so that's another. And I'm not sure if that's true. You can let me know your opinion, but that's another impact on society when men are aware of, okay, they have low testosterone, and then they try to seek out a solution, and then there's more challenges that come up with that. What are your thoughts? Is that proven to be true? Is it not? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's such a great question. So, one thing I want to start with this is be careful who you listen to fitness advice from. The influencers that look too good to be true, that you can tell it's like, this looks enhanced. Because the truth is, a lot of influencers, they're taking certain performance enhancements. And so, if they're giving you advice on how to exercise and how to eat, but they are having this aid that they are injecting as steroids, testosterone, whatever it is, their body recovers a lot quicker, which is why sleep is important if you're natural. So definitely pay attention to the people that you're taking advice from. So a lot of the people that are competing in bodybuilding, maybe in certain sports or competitions where they are injecting testosterone, a lot of it is banned, of course, and is tested for, but just think about it, right? So if we have more testosterone. And right now, what is normal for men is between 350 to 1,000 Uh, that is where it's at. And a lot of men that are in like the 350s, 400s, that's where you start to have a lot of issues. Okay. Now, if we take someone that is taking testosterone, so you take testosterone, you inject it in your body. Now you're teaching your body that it's going to come in, and so your body kind of stops producing it, right? And so if you teach your body to stop producing it and you're doing it in large amounts and you keep doing it for years and years and years, then yeah, in the worst case scenario, that could happen. Someone could lose the ability and they can become infertile. And that is the worst case scenario. And that is usually happens when someone doesn't really know how to use it well, or they're just very competitive and taking massive amounts of it. And when it comes to testosterone therapy, most of the time people are just getting enough to where it helps them, but it doesn't cause any issues like infertility.
Okay, good. Thank you for clarifying. Because that can sound scary. I mean, it's important for people to know that, yeah, there are long-term risks depending on how they use it and if they stay dependent on it, those types of things. Yeah, very, very, very important. So good. And then what are some other misconceptions that you might deal with that the men that you work with around masculinity or testosterone?
And when you say misconceptions, what do you mean?
Yeah, maybe like some like one misconception might be that maybe they're aware that they have testosterone challenges, but they're not aware that there's natural ways to resolve it. That's one I'm guessing that might be a misconception. Like maybe people only think that the replacement therapy is the only option. So if there's any others like that.
Yeah, that's a big one, and that's why I want to speak on this. That's why my social media is focused on this maverick masculinity. That's where you'll find a lot of videos of me educating on things like that. And then on the men's group, which is Maverick Men ATX, those are both Instagram pages. You can find a lot about what we do and how important community is. But absolutely, right? So we have men that are just going out there, they get tested once and then they're hopping on TRT. They don't know that you can optimize it naturally. Well, how incredible is that? It's going to improve the quality of your life tenfold, if not more, because now you're going to really master your sleep. You're going to master how to handle stress. You're going to become someone that loves exercise and falls in love with exercise. And you're not just doing it to look a certain way, but you cherish your body and you realize that in this epidemic, you actually have the ability to first become aware, then learn and get to a point where you are a man with high testosterone in today's society. And so that is us focusing on self-mastery. That is us taking our power back. So it is all about having conversations with this, which is why I'm so grateful that you invited me on this podcast because I love what you're doing. I see how you're empowering people. I see how aware you are. I see how you've done a lot of inner work. And I think the more of that, the better, right? And then sometimes we have people who are so in it and they've done they just focus on healing so much they're lost in the process and maybe they're not doing so well that people start associating plant medicine or personal growth and development with not doing well or and that's not true. And that's not true. There's different stages for everything, right? Even so, a couple of days ago, I had one of my men's hikes, Vanessa, and the energy was just contagious, positive, contagious energy. It was absolutely amazing. I got so much good feedback. And I created this video calling out Matthew McConaughey. I had this vision. I was like, I would love if Matthew McConaughey comes out and hikes us with us, works out, and does a speech because we also do public speaking during the hikes. And so I asked a man to help me with this, and we created a video together calling him out. And there was so much good feedback. People were excited about it. But then there was a couple of comments where somebody said, soft, gay, right? Things like that. It's like things like that don't bother me at all. And I'll tell you why. Because I know that that is someone who needs to do inner work. That's someone that's acting like a boy. It's not a man making those comments. Keyboard warriors. So thank you for increasing my engagement. I'll block you, I'll delete your comment, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yes. I'm so glad you exercise online boundaries. Many people don't, or they feel guilty about doing it. I'm like, no, block the person. Like, don't let that energy sit on your content. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when people are triggered, just and it may not have been anything that you guys were doing or saying in particular, right? Like anything can be a trigger to someone if they're unintegrated. I use the word unintegrated instead of unhealed, but you can use either one. But by the way, I love that. Like you guys, inviting Matthew McConaughey to get involved and get engaged with you guys. And I felt into the energy of that. That just like the community, the brotherhood, the aligned masculinity, like just in like the support and like getting all jazzed up for something like that. That sounds incredible.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So now I want to start talking about some of the solutions, the natural ways to improve or boost. I'm not sure what the right terminology is there, but the right ways on how to naturally boost testosterone.
Absolutely. All those are right terminologies. Improve, boost. I like the word optimize. That's just for me specifically, but all of those are great words for it. So let's talk about stress, okay? So there's certain reasons why we could be very stressed out, and we can have high cortisol, the stress hormone. Emotions are messengers, right? A lot of emotions start because of thoughts, certain thoughts that we're having in our mind. So it's important to be aware and say, like, if you feel a certain way, what are the thoughts that you had before that? Now, let's put some thought into positive and negative emotions because emotions just emotions, but something that I like to focus on is definitely being aware of those emotions. I mean, just this morning, I saw this huge influencer who I follow, and he wrote, F your emotions. You just got to keep going. It's like, and it's about this concept, this masculine concept of like, it's, you just have to stay consistent and disciplined, which I understand completely. But here's the thing, your emotions really affect how you feel and your vibration and your energy, right? So we know how powerful it is. For example, right now, both you and I can focus on a memory. If we ask our mind's eye to focus on a memory where we were really loved and we were surrounded by love and by gratitude. And just thinking about that, a memory came up for me. And I literally feel lighter. Everything is a little bit more colorful right now, right? But then if we have certain feelings and those are low energy, anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, shame, what that's going to do is it's going to create a lot of stress, a lot of cortisol in our body. And then it's going to take us out of flow, out of presence. So now we are not aligned in the world. And so the big thing is figuring out, first of all, mindset, mental health, emotional health. Like, what are those thoughts and why are you having them? Because they're messengers. You're having them for a reason, and your higher self, your intuition knows what's best for you. So let's find out what is the best process for you to eliminate those thoughts, and let's figure out also where those thoughts are coming from. Do you have a goal, a blueprint that you're not meeting, that you have set so high that is creating that stress? Because I see that massively when it comes to overwhelm. When people are so overwhelmed, one of the main reasons is because they have set such a big goal for themselves, whether it's career or relationship or health, and they're so far away from it that they're comparing now to where they want to be, and it feels so far away that now it's overwhelming and they don't know how to get there and they feel lost. And so the thing is, it's like it's great to have a vision and a goal, but it's also great to chunk down and have an understanding of what we need to do today and tomorrow. So that way you can say like, okay, today I just need to take care of this, this, and this. And now you're comparing it to something that is very manageable and doable. And it's fascinating how quickly that overwhelm can disappear, right? So That's a big one.
I love that one. And I was thinking like that was me all of 2024. That overwhelm of my potential or like where I'm going and all my goals and all the things to do and be and blah 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 blah. And then yeah, 2025, it's been like a reset, like, whoa, wait. We don't have to be all the way in the future 10 years from now. Let's just what is the most relevant today? What are my highest priorities for today or this month or whatever it is? And so, yes, that it definitely reduces the overwhelm. And I love that you're making that connection. It reduces the cortisol and our vibration and how we feel. And thank you for bringing up that post that you saw too, because I'm sure it's not just that person. I see stuff like that all the time. These bypassing statements of just yeah, control your emotions, ignore your emotions, and like push through. And like, obviously, there's a time and place for everything. Like, there's moments, even I do that. Like, I just bypass it or I just, stick a pin in it because of the situation. And that's what it calls for. And it's not the appropriate time for me to dive into that emotion. But there's other times, where you can have so much intention about coming back to the emotions that you need to, or if you have space in the moment, if depending on the environment, you can reparent yourself or be the parent, be the leader, be self-led in IFS therapy. Like we like to say, be self-led and guide yourself through that emotion and feel it. And instead of denying it, like really accept it and see what medicine is there through that emotion or that energy. And we can also, what I've learned from being a healing facilitator and working a lot with emotions myself is like emotions can actually pass very quickly if we allow them to. There's a three-step process. But most of us, we interrupt the process or we stop it or we block it from actually completing. And then those emotions get stuck in our field, in our mind, and we're overthinking and then we're looping and then we can't get over something, and then it just kind of stays stuck and it becomes one of those denser energies in our field. So I love that you brought that up. And so yeah, as people are listening to this, when you see posts like that, like just have awareness because it feels like it's so popular right now, but it's suppression, and emotional suppression will just take us out of our authentic selves, our aligned masculine or our aligned feminine, over time, if not immediately. So yeah, really interesting. So let's see, the in improving testosterone, reducing the overwhelm, which will reduce the cortisol, is a powerful solution. Are there any other
Yeah.
solutions?
Let's go over some other ones. So, in your kitchen, if there's anything that you're cooking with that is plastic, a plastic utensil that you use to stir stuff or cook stuff with, throw that thing in the trash right now, because what's happening is it leaches little plastics, microplastics into the food that you're eating, and now you have a lot more microplastics in our body. Unfortunately, there is so much plastic in the world right now that everyone has microplastics in their body and will continue to get microplastics, but there are certain things that we can do to greatly reduce massive amounts of that coming in. Right? If you look at the cookware that you have in the kitchen, if you have a pan, a cooking pan that is very old looking and it's scratched up and you can see scratches on it, some of those metals are going to be going into your food. So it's very important to be aware of what you are cooking your food with and how you are storing it. Please don't microwave stuff in plastics. So that's a big one too. Uh,
Yeah.
Being aware of how you are cooking your food, that's a big one. Another thing is, let's have a conversation about food because there is a yin and yang, and the biggest teacher that I've had is the yin and the yang for everything that it comes to life. For example, yin and yang, we got vegans and we got carnivores. Okay? There are people that are vegans that have greatly improved their health. And when you look at their blood work, it is phenomenal. Then you have people that are carnivore and that are eating only meat products. And when you look at their blood work, it is phenomenal. They have completely changed their life. So how can that be? Well, if you look at it, a lot of those people were eating processed foods before they decided to switch to a certain diet. Okay. And so the big thing is You can be vegan, you can be vegetarian, you can be carnivore, you can be animal-based, you can be pescatarian. But the big thing is, if you really want to improve your health, is you should stop eating fast foods. If you are eating Chick-fil-A or a lot of other fast foods, I invite you to go on YouTube and look up some videos of what really is in a what you think healthy Chick-fil-A sandwich. And
Mm.
how many ingredients are in that chicken and in that bread. And you will be shocked, right? A lot of other things. When I go to the grocery store, I never see people looking at labels. I feel like I'm the only one. But this is something that's going to change. And so something to pay attention to is when you are buying food that is frozen or that has more than three ingredients, I want you to look at the oils. And
Yeah.
it is important to not buy food with seed oils. And it is better for men. Right? I've met a lot of women who are vegan and vegetarian and they're healthy. But when it comes to men, I've talked to a lot of men that are on both sides. There's men that have been there and they're still healthy. That's great. It's working for you. But then there's men that have been in that for years and decades, and it actually ended up ruining their hormone
Yep.
level.
I know people like that personally.
And so it looks like the research suggests that um, certain animal-based foods can definitely help. Why? Cholesterol. Cholesterol is the building block of a lot of hormones and especially testosterone. And the human body can produce it naturally, but there's some studies that when you look at, there's massive research that suggests people were being paid off to talk about how certain fats are bad for you and how sugar is okay. And I'm not going to go into the study, but there are certain things that you can find research on YouTube where certain scientists were paid off around the 1980s at a major university to tell America that this is healthy and this is not healthy. And so it cholesterol can be very healthy. Now, people that might be worried about LDL and increasing their cholesterol levels, one thing that I can tell you is when you combine high fat food like butter, steak, eggs, I eat eggs every single day. For breakfast, I eat 5 to 6 eggs. And something that I'll do is I will combine it with certain foods that will barely bump up the LDL. It won't have a massive shift in the LDL. And that is, for example, almond butter. If you combine it with high cholesterol foods, it's fine with like eggs and steak. There's broccoli. There's certain foods that when you combine them with this high fat food, it's still totally fine for your body. And people have been eating like this for years and years and years. So the big lesson here is I'm not preaching animal-based carnivore. I'm not doing any of that,
hmm
although I definitely go by a lot of animal-based. That's what I do.
hmm
But what I've seen is eliminating processed foods. Eat foods that are one ingredient, two ingredients, three ingredients, and focus on that if you really want to improve your health.
Yeah, yeah, that can make a huge difference. And avoid like the middle of the aisles at the grocery store. Stay on the outskirts. That's where all the fresh produce and meats and like all of that, it's all on the outside. Just do like a big circle around and maybe if you're getting like some olive oil or I don't know, like a few things in the inside aisles. I feel like that's a good guideline. That's something I used when I was like changing from processed stuff and snacks and like all the things that had the seed oils. And for me, that was a huge thing. I had really bad reactions, and it took me a year to find out that it was that seed oils was either the cause or it was contributing on top of something else. So really important stuff.
Wow. So
Yeah.
you lived it firsthand.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and I had physical reactions like on my skin. It was pretty gnarly. So interesting stuff. Question for you. Does cold plunging for men increase testosterone?
Let's dive into the cold plunging because I love the cold plunging. Okay. There is definitely studies that show it increases testosterone. Now, cold plunging, we got to be careful, right? Because it's fire and ice, yin and yang. You're going on one end of the yin and the yang. And so, my lesson here on Earth is if we stay on that side too much, we can be in trouble. any part of the yin and yang, light, dark, vegan, carnivore, right? And so there's a certain amount of time you can spend on there and explore it, but then if you stay too much, and then it's different for everyone, then you can end up being hurt. Anything could be bad for you if it's too much. So someone just sent me a message the other day. It was like it was for cold plunges and it was on LinkedIn and it showed how there's people that are experiencing kidney failure that are doing cold plunges. Like that's interesting. But when you look at why that's happening, it's like, okay, well, their immune system might be lower. They might actually be drinking sodas and a lot of other processed foods. And so that's why kidney stones are forming and they're having kidney stones and maybe that's why their kidneys are having issues. And so their health, what does their health look like? When it comes to cold plunges, there is lots of people that have started to test themselves where they got their testosterone tested and they did a 30-day challenge. They did a cold plunge every single day before they worked out. If you do a cold plunge and then you work out, studies show that it increases your testosterone levels. And by the way, how you noticed me and what I was doing was through a post where I talked about how lifting and doing compound exercises like squats, deadlifts, bench press, push-ups, things like that can increase testosterone levels by up to like 20% if you focus on that because it's compound movements, lots of muscles at once. So that's how you found me. And when we look at that, it looks like if you do a cold plunge before you exercise, you increase chances of hypertrophy, muscle growth. But if you work out and then you do a cold plunge, now you're reducing your chances for muscle growth. It's very interesting how that works. However, let's not focus on just muscle. We're not just bros thinking about muscle. I think the number one thing when it comes to cold plunges is heart health. What happens is your blood vessels vasodilate. It makes your heart work more and more. And because of that, your heart gets stronger, which means your resting heart rate can reduce over time, which means your heart doesn't have to work as much. So we're talking about burning a lot more calories because your body has to thermoregulate, your immune system gets stronger, you increase your brown fat count over time, and you're making your heart stronger. Sign me up, right? Sign me up. So I personally believe that cold plunges, there's a time and a place for it, and you do have to be very careful when you do it. I love to do them, and then after I get out, let my body on its own regulate to normal temperature instead of
Yeah.
going into a sauna or a hot tub right away.
Right. Beautiful. I love that. So much good information. And as we start to wrap up, tell us about some of the amazing things that you have happening. Where can people find you? And then right after that, if you want to leave us with like a quote or a book recommendation or any type of resource where people can kind of just learn about more of this stuff on their own.
Love it. Thank you so much. So I have something that I'd love to offer for absolutely free, and I've created, it's called the Maverick Masculinity Whole Life Assessment. And it's 10 categories of how you can be a high performance man. And I break them down and you can rate them between 1 to 10. And then it actually gives you a lot of clarity on what you can focus on right now in life so you can experience more happiness and more energy and decrease stress. So if you would like that for free, simply, I would just say to email me and I'll give the email to Vanessa. You have my email. So people that are listening to this, you can just write down the masculinity assessment and then please write down the Power and Purpose podcast. And I'll send that to you absolutely for free. So that is one thing. And then if for anyone that is listening and they would love to focus on high performance, they would love to increase their testosterone, you want to create alignment in your identity and your subconscious, you want to lead from an open heart, I offer one-on-one coaching. So that's something that I do. Please reach out. And finally, if you are in Austin right now, I would love to invite you to experience the Maverick Men group where we go hiking, we create community, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful container, which will be global in the future, right? So right now it's just in Austin, but Maverick Men will grow into a global community because I am a man on a mission and there's a lot of men that can feel it and they're ready to support me. So it is this beautiful phase where there's so much momentum, there's so much support and love, and it feels exciting. Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Amazing. Vasco, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for being on the show. Do you want to leave us with a quote or a book rec, anything like that?
When there is a will, there is a way. If there's something that you feel like is out of your reach, I promise you, you can get there. You just have to focus on what can I do to make it happen? How can I show up? Who do I need to meet with? Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, in one of his rules to success, says one of his success rules is break the rules. If you got to break the rules, okay, I'm not telling you to do anything illegal, but what I'm saying is when there is a way, when there is a will, there is a way.
Powerful. Thank you so much. This was such an insightful conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yes, all of his contact details are below, so make sure you reach out if you want to use any of his tools. Namaste, everyone. Have a great week.